my first time doing this. Can you hear?
Yeah.
Okay. The Magic Pony. One hot August afternoon, I took my then 6-year-old daughter, Emily, and her friend to our neighborhood mall for frozen yogurt. I settled on a bench in a patch of shade to enjoy mine. The girls made a beeline for a pair of low, curved steel pipes, some kind of meters, I think, that sat in a clump of bamboo plants. They climbed on the contraptions and pretended they were riding magical ponies. Buttercup and Lightning Rainbow were not the prettiest or fastest steeds on the block, but they did, it turns out, have very special powers. For Emily, at least. This feels really good on my vagina! She squealed, loud enough for anyone within a 500-foot radius to hear. I froze. My plastic spoon, dripping with vanilla yogurt, hovered in midair. I don't feel anything, said her friend, frowning. Here, you have to sit like this. Wriggling on Buttercup to demonstrate the proper technique. It feels so good on my vagina. Oh my God. I whipped my head around to see if anyone else was catching her X-rated performance. Luckily, the heat was keeping most people indoors. I still don't feel anything. Red-faced, I sprang up from the bench and marched over to Emily. Please don't say that again, or we're leaving. Oh, I forgot, she said, her smile fading as she ducked her head. Vagina's a bad word. Well, no, it's not, I stammered. It's just not something we talk about in public. As I headed back to the bench suddenly, I was the one feeling ashamed. Given my reaction, why wouldn't my daughter think that she just committed some horrible crime? I don't want her to grow up believing her vagina and the sensations she can feel through it are bad. Like many women of my generation, the only conversation I ever had with my mother about that part of my body was an awkward 5 minutes behind closed doors. I was 14 and had just started my period. As I sat on the edge of my bed, wishing I were anywhere else, my mother handed me a big purple box of diaper-sized sanitary napkins. Then, in her proper British accent, she launched into a text-book-worthy description of sex. It sounded about as appealing as a visit to the dentist. There was no mention of pleasure or, God forbid, masturbation. I was technically an adult before I discovered that it didn't take anyone else to make me feel good down there. Sometimes I can't help wondering if I knew I had this power at a younger age, maybe I wouldn't have jumped into sex before I was ready to handle the consequences. Emily is 10 now. At some point in the not too distant future, we'll have a little chat about why rubbing her vagina on Buttercup felt so darn good. I want her to know masturbation is perfectly normal, and that it's an acceptable, sometimes better, alternative to sex. In the meantime, I'm just grateful that as an image-conscious tween these days, Emily wouldn't be caught dead playing magical ponies when we go to the mall for frozen yogurt.